we're carrying on with the big story of God, which, remember, is a massive story. It's not about us, it's about him, but you are involved in it and you're a key part of the story and you get to carry the story forward. The story is all about the goodness and the blessing of God, which is available to all people. Remember the covenant, the blessing that we've spoken about in previous weeks, where God is going to make a people group who tell everybody about his grace and about his goodness and about his love. This week's story is going to be a little bit complex and it's going to involve some sheep and some goats, and it's going to get a little bit confusing at times. So I'm going to help explain that with this strawberry. Look at that strawberry. What a delicious strawberry. We get our strawberries from Tesco's each week. They are delivered. This week they look perfect. Doesn't that just look like a Wimbledon style strawberry? But last week they delivered some strawberries which didn't look perfect. They delivered some which were in a specially marked box which says, "We apologise for the look of the strawberries. Don't worry though, they'll still taste great even though they're a little bit misshapen." So remember where we are. We've got Jacob, who has arrived at his uncle Laban's house, running for his life from his brother who's just stolen all the stuff, the inheritance and the money from. He's accidentally married both of Laban's daughters, and then he spent the next few years working still in Laban's farm and having children with both the daughters and their maidservants. He's now got 11 sons and a daughter. Now, all this time, he's been training his sons up into this huge family-run farming business. He's taken Laban's small farm and he's made it into something massive because he's got all these free workers, his sons, that work with him. And they're really, really great at farming and shepherding and knowing how to look after the herds of sheep and goats. All this time, while this is going on, while this big family is expanding and all the complexities of that family, which we're going to come back to next week, all that time, Jacob is thinking, you know what, it's okay here at Uncle Laban's house, but there's this growing desire in me to get back to my homeland, to get back to my people, to get back to where I come from. I've been working here for a few decades now and I want to go home. I miss my mum and my dad and I think I need to put things right with my brother. So one day out in the fields, he's looking after the sheep and the goats and he prays about this. And he has this vision. This angel appears to him and says, yeah, you're right. It's time to go home. God says, go back to the place where I want you to be. Look after your children, look after your wives, look after all of their servants and look after all their stuff, but it's time to take them home. So Jacob goes to Laban and he says, hey, Unc, I want to go home. We've worked here for decades. I've worked really hard for you. I want to go home. Laban, thinking this isn't a good deal, I'm going to lose all of my best farm labourers, says to him, you're joking, aren't you? Don't worry about it. Relax. Why on earth would you want to go anywhere? Do you need more money? Is it about that? Name your price. Jacob says, well, I don't need more money. It's not about that. I want to go home. I want to see my family again. So, realizing that this is probably what's going to happen, Jacob makes an offer. He says, look, why don't we split the herds of the sheep and the goats? Uncle Laban, you take all of the goats, which are goat colored, which are brown, which just look like perfect goats. If they look great, you take it. If it's a goat which has got white all over it, if it's got speckles and spots, if it doesn't look so strong, put that in my herd. And the same with the sheep. If it's a picture-perfect sheep that it's got a brilliant, beautiful, white, fluffy coat of marshmallows and candy floss, you keep it. But if it's the black sheep of the family, if it's the one that nobody wants, if it looks like a little bit of a weedy lamb, give it to me, I'll take it. That way, we'll create two herds of sheep and goats that look really distinct. And you'll be able to tell just by looking at the field which one is which. Uncle Laban thinks, that's a great deal. I'm going to get the very best of the sheep and the goats. He's going to get the very worst. He won't be able to sell those at market. He won't be able to make money. They will never make enough milk for him. He won't be able to leave. This is brilliant for me. Let's do it. So he says, deal. Let's shake on it. He goes up to his sons and says, sons, you get all of the weak sheep. I want you to, and all of the weak goats. And then we're going to go. We're going to go. We're going to put 3 days traveling distance between us and Jacob and his sons. And there's nothing he'll be able to do about it. Laban doesn't know who he's dealing with. He's dealing with Jacob, the master deceiver and manipulator, the man who tricked his own dad into giving him the blessing that was supposed to go to somebody else. All this time, Whilst out in the fields working for years and years with the sheep and the goats, Jacob has been manipulating the flock. He doesn't care what they look like. He doesn't care whether his sheep are white or black or spotty or striped. He just cares that they are strong. So he's been making the sheep mate with each other in such a way that the weak ones look strong and the strong ones look weak. So that when his uncle Laban takes the ones that he thinks look the strongest, he's actually got the ones which are the weakest. And then his uncle Laban goes and puts 3 days traveling time in between the two, leaving Jacob with his spotty, miscoloured, misshapen sheep, which are actually stronger. Then Jacob, Rachel, Leah, the maidservants, and all their children run. So, what did we learn this week? Number 1, if you're ever going to do a deal with a farmer about some sheep or some goats, you'd better know what you're talking about. Number 2, don't judge something by what it looks like. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a goat by the colour of its skin. Don't judge a person by the colour of their skin. Look as God does, it says later in the Bible, at the heart. Don't be fooled into superficial appearances and judgments. Number 3, home is important. That's why it's important for us to create home where we are with people and alongside people, because if you're away from home, you sometimes long for it. Number 4, isn't it remarkable that Jacob can be out in the field literally praying to God, asking God, how can I serve you? How can I do the best thing? How can I follow your ways? I want to be a part of the blessing. How do I do that? I'll do that with myself and with my family. At the exact same moment that he's being deceptive and manipulating the flock so that he gets above somebody else in life at their expense. Isn't that remarkable? And yet, I do the same thing. So if you've ever wondered how you can be godly and greedy, how you can be a sinner and a saint at the exact same time, don't worry about it. You're in good company. Number 5. God uses anybody and everybody. People like you, people like me, people who get it right, people who get it wrong. We're all part of the story of the blessing and goodness of God.